Imagine hearing a sound that for you is completely real, but for almost everyone around you, it just doesn't exist. We're talking about a relentless, low-frequency hum that follows you everywhere. It gets louder inside your own house, and it can wreck your sleep, your health, even your sanity. This isn't science fiction. For a small slice of the world's population, it's a daily reality. This is the story of the hum. And that quote from Katie Jocks, wow, it really hits you, doesn't it? This is not just some small annoyance we're talking about. For the people who can hear it, they're often called hearers, this constant, invasive sound can be absolutely agonizing. It's a companion they never asked for and one they can never escape. So just how many people are we talking about here? It's not just a few isolated cases. Researchers figure that somewhere around 2 to 4% of the entire global population might be able to hear this sound. Now that translates to tens of millions of people all over the world who are somehow tuned in to a frequency that the rest of us are completely deaf to. So what is this sound? This is the absolute core of the puzzle, right? You have a sound that is 100% real and disruptive for some people, but it's totally non-existent for almost everybody else. So let's really dive into what these hearers are actually going through. You know, the description you hear over and over again with this incredible consistency, whether it's in England or New Mexico, is this. It sounds like a big truck is idling down the street, but when you go to look, there's nothing there. It's a sound that you just can't track down. And the characteristics are just bizarre. They almost defy logic. The frequency is way down at the very, very bottom of what humans can hear. And get this, it's often louder indoors. How does that make sense for an outside noise? Plus, the fact that earplugs don't work, that suggests this isn't just sound traveling through the air. It might be vibrating through the ground, through buildings, or maybe even through our own bodies. And look, this isn't some new thing that just popped up last year, and it's definitely not stuck in one little town. The hum is a truly global phenomenon, and it has a long documented history that shows a pretty clear pattern over the years. These major outbreaks have been getting attention for more than half a century. It really hit the mainstream media back in the 70s in Bristol, England. Then came the most famous case of all, the Taos hum in New Mexico, which got so serious that national labs got involved. More recently, the Windsor hum became an actual international incident. And even now, new clusters are popping up in places like San Francisco. So with all these reports coming in from all over the world, what could possibly be causing this? Well, for decades, scientists have been treating this like a detective story, rounding up all the usual and, well, some pretty unusual suspects. Okay, so suspect number one, it's gotta be our own modern world, right? I mean, we are surrounded by machines, and a lot of them are running 24/7. This just seems like the most logical place to start the investigation. And the case for industry is pretty solid. We know for a fact that things like factory cooling towers and high-pressure gas lines create the exact kind of low-frequency sound that people describe. And that sound can travel for miles. Plus, and this is key, the structure of a building can actually amplify those frequencies, which would explain why it's so often louder indoors. They even cracked a case in Kokomo, Indiana, and traced a hum directly to a specific factory. But just when you think you've got it figured out, here's the catch. The industry theory just doesn't explain everything. You have people reporting the hum in super quiet rural areas, miles and miles away from any heavy industry. And in that Kokomo case, even after they fixed the equipment at the plant, some people kept right on hearing the noise. So the investigation has to look elsewhere. So what if the source isn't out there at all? What if it's coming from inside us? This next theory dives into the biology of our own sense of hearing. Now, it's super important to make a distinction here. The hum is not the same thing as tinnitus. Yeah, they both involve hearing sounds that others don't, but they're very different beasts. Tinnitus is usually a high-pitched ringing, and it's not tied to where you are. The hum, on the other hand, is that deep rumble, and it mysteriously shows up in these geographic clusters, affecting a bunch of people in the same place at the same time. And get this, our own inner ears can actually produce their own tiny sounds. They're called acoustic emissions. It's possible that for some people, these are just more noticeable. But again, that theory hits a major wall. It just can't explain the geographic clustering. If it was just our ears, you'd find hearers sprinkled randomly all over the globe, not bunched up in places like Taos or Bristol. All right, so if it's not industry and it's not our own ears, what's left? Well, this leads us to our final and maybe most out there suspect. What if the planet we're living on is making the sound? There are so many natural things that generate powerful, low-frequency sound, what scientists call infrasound, which is normally way below what we can hear. I mean, we're talking about massive ocean waves colliding out at sea or the slow, grinding movement of tectonic plates. These create incredible amounts of energy. The problem is there's no proven way for these sounds to be focused and amplified just enough for a select few people to hear them, especially miles and miles inland. Okay, so it sounds like an impossible case to crack, right? Well, not always. While a lot of this is still a mystery, there have been a few incredible moments where the culprit was actually caught, giving us some vital clues about what at least some of these hums are all about. These are the huge wins for human investigators. The famous Windsor hum, which tormented people for years, was eventually traced to a blast furnace on a place called Zug Island, over in Michigan. And the final undeniable proof? It came almost accidentally when the plant shut down during the 2020 pandemic. Suddenly, the hum was just gone. In other places, the source turned out to be a ship unloading pump or even a single ship's generator. So this proves that sometimes, yeah, the answer really is just industrial noise. And yet, for every solved case, you've got the long shadow of the Taos hum. This is the big one. Top scientists from labs like Los Alamos and Sandia brought in super sensitive microphones and all kinds of gear. They scoured the area, and they found nothing. To this day, the Taos hum is the ultimate unsolved auditory mystery. So that brings us to where we are today. After more than 50 years of reports, research, and investigations, we've solved a few local puzzles. But the bigger, global phenomenon, it's still completely shrouded in questions. And we're left with these huge, nagging questions. The biggest one is probably, why me? Why do only some people hear it? Is it genetic, neurological? We just don't know. It also seems pretty likely that the hum is just a catch-all term for a bunch of different things. And the basic physics of it, louder inside, not blocked by earplugs, still messes with our fundamental understanding of sound. You know, this quote from a leading audiologist, Dr. David Bagley, really sums it all up. This isn't mass hysteria. This isn't some fringe belief. When you have this many consistent reports from credible people all around the world, it's obvious that something real is happening. So we're left with this final thought. What are we dealing with here? Is the hum a real external sound that only a few of us are sensitive enough to perceive? Is it some complex trick of the mind where our brains create a sound out of some other stimulus? Or is it something else entirely? Something we haven't even thought of yet, operating right at the very edge of our perception. For now, the mystery drones on.